Have you been feeling like you have outgrown your old life, but haven't really stepped into the new one yet? Like you're in this weird in between space where nothing's really wrong, but everything's starting to feel off. Well, you're not unmotivated, you are also not broken, but you are in the void. And this space, as uncomfortable as it feels, is where your next level is being built. And in today's episode, I want to show you how to walk through this phase with clarity so that you show up powerfully in that next level. Now, let's begin to understand this void. Okay, when you are in this void, a few things that could happen is your work might start feeling meaningless. You don't have the same energy that you previously had. You don't show up the same way like you previously did. Conversations start to drain you. Certain friendships, relationships just feel unaligned. Things start feeling more unaligned. And you start questioning yourself. You start questioning what's next. You start questioning what your purpose is now. Is it shifting? Is it moving? Well, when all of these things are happening, it's very clear that you are in the void. And this void is that space of transition. It's that space between your old self and the new one. You might be in that old reality, in that old self, and you haven't really stepped into the new version yet. Now, the void sparks light on things that need to shift. It also gives you space to do that. Staying in the void or navigating through the void is really crucial and very helpful for you to step into that next level. Avoiding this space is going to most commonly take you backwards. Because let's be truthful, this space, the void, is very uncomfortable. It's not a very comfortable space to be, but it's a space of creation. It's where your next level is being birthed. Birthed, is that a word? Is being built. And it's really crucial for you to make the most of this space. Okay. Now, the first thing you need to decide is, do you want to step into the next level? And I'll be honest with you, most people would say no, because the space that they are in right now feels very comfortable. It looks like it's ticked all the boxes. It looks like the perfect picture. It looks like everything's working out. But then there's a voice, there is a deep knowing that you are meant to do more. You are ready for that next phase, for that next life. And for you to take action in that direction, you have got to create motivation. You have got to fuel your motivation to take yourself from this phase to the next phase. And to fuel motivation is easier when you come from a space of anger, frustration, even sadness. These emotions help you motivate yourself into creating a new reality, into creating a new phase. But when you're coming from a space where you are already comfortable, where things are already good, and you don't have these type of emotions to fuel your motivation, it could look very hard, and it is. And it's also something that most people don't speak about. So for you to create that motivation, to put yourself into the unknown, into the uncomfortable space, takes a lot of courage. And if you want to take that journey, if you want to move ahead, you are going to see yourself grow in beautiful ways that you wouldn't have even expected. So once you've made that decision to shift into your next level, you enter that space. You enter the discomfort. You enter the unknown. Now, the space is not for you to get scared. It's not for you to question everything, but it's for you to create. It's for you to move from victim mentality to creation mode. And I say victim mentality because most of us get into the space of a victim thinking. We get into the space of why is this happening? How do I do this? What went wrong? Did my purpose change? That's not where you want to be. That's not going to fuel your motivation. In truth, that's going to take you reverse. That's going to take you backwards. So shift into creation. Understand that this phase is my creation mode phase. This phase is where I am going to build my next space, my next phase in life. Now, this space is very powerful if you let it be. This space is where you trust, you build your belief. This space is where you hold the belief, the trust, and you take yourself into that next level. You notice this phase is not about looking at your external for cues, for validation, but this is a lot to do with creating it internally. And when you're creating things internally, you can't see it. You can't really see faith. You can't really see trust and belief. But what you can do is you can hold the trust, you can hold the belief, and you can create that new reality for yourself. So let's start there. Okay. How do you navigate this phase? What do you do? Now, the number one thing is stop trying to rush the clarity. Clarity comes when you're aligned with your next level. Stop looking for answers from your external. Instead, tune in. This space, the void, is here for you to transition. It's not here for you to go back and start thinking like your old self. So, for you to arrive into the next level, you've got to start thinking as the person who is already in the next level. Now, most often, what happens is when we start rushing clarity, when we start thinking about the next steps, the next decisions, what we've got to be doing, we are thinking from a version of us which was yesterday, which is aligned with our old self. Now, this person who is aligned with our old self is going to create a life and results that reflect the reality that they were living in yesterday. For you to step into your next level, you've got to start thinking as that person already, who's already at the next level. And then you would be aligned with that person. Your thinking patterns would be aligned to that person who's already in the next level. Then your decisions would also reflect that. Next, let the old version of you fully die. For this new version of you to be born, there needs to be a part of you that dies. And that is probably your old behaviors, your old patterns, your old ways of thinking, your old ways of doing stuff. Also, some old relationships that are draining you, some connections that are not meant to go along with you. So let the old version die so that the new version can be born. Look at things that have started to feel unaligned. This could be maybe a sector in your business, a role that you are feeling unaligned with, a relationship that you're feeling unaligned with, some habits, some ways of thinking. Look at the things that no longer feel aligned and let them go. Once you let them go, you make space, you make room for new ways of being, for your next version to step in. And once you have that, ask yourself, what's trying to come through me? Now, this question is not meant to think about what my next step is, what should I be doing, but rather it's to move from brain to identity, from thinking, from external to internal. Okay. So instead of thinking what I should be doing, what feels right, instead of getting cues and answers from your external, you are looking inwards. You are looking at your identity, at your frequency, at your energy. What's trying to come through me? This is a very identity level question. This is a very creation mode question. And allow yourself to answer that question truly. See what comes up. See what you truly want to create now. Look at what type of role you truly want to step into now. And ask that question. You could sit down, you could journal about this, you could free write and see what comes up, or you could just sit with yourself and ask yourself, what is my next? What am I? What wants to be born through me? Next, make space instead of trying to fill it. Now, when you are going through this phase, it could feel very overwhelming with the type of thoughts that are coming up, with the overthinking that might be happening. And most commonly, we tried to involve ourselves with many activities, with bombarding our mind, our thoughts with maybe shows, TV shows, podcasts, right? With feeding ourselves with more information, with doing more activities to keep ourselves busy. But that's not what you need right now. You don't need a distraction. You don't need more noise in your head. What you need is for you to listen to yourself. And for that to happen, you've got to make space. You've got to sit with this face. You've got to sit with this void and ask yourself what's coming through and let it come through. And for that to happen, you need to give space. You don't need to fill it up with more things. You need to sit down. You need to actually do less rather than doing more. So you come from clarity there. You build the clarity within. So I would ask you to do less, to make more space for the next vision, for the next version to come through, rather than crowding your mind, your nervous system with a lot of information and putting yourself into doing more things just for the heck of it, just for keeping yourself busy. Because you don't need more noise, you need more silence, and you need to stay in the space, do less, sit with yourself, and let clarity come from within. Now, I would also suggest to anchor into grounding rituals. So, these are activities, rituals that you do to anchor yourself, not to distract yourself. Let's be honest, there is a lot of change happening in this phase. And when a lot of change is happening, you need a few things that you could do, or just one thing that you could do to move out of your mind into your body. So, this could be maybe a daily walk or a daily workout session. And it doesn't have to be like an hour long walk or an hour long workout session. It could just be 15, 20 minutes. But it should be done every day so it becomes your anchor. It becomes that space just for you to move out of your mind into your body, to help you step into the next version. Remember, this is an identity shift. You are moving from one identity to another identity when you are shifting from one level to another level. And for that to happen, you have to allow space for your identity to make that shift. And most of the time, this space is crowded with our mind. It wants to take over, it wants to think, it wants to protect in many ways. It wants you to question, what is my next? What is the next step? I need to brainstorm this. But that's not what you want to do. What you want to do is slow down, tune in, and let clarity come from there. So, if you're in the space, I want to remind you that you are expanding. You're in the space which is almost like a birth canal. It is dark, it is messy, full of mystery. But what's on the other side is a version of you that is so much more clearer, so much more truer, and the most powerful you've ever been. So you don't need to force this, but you need to just hold yourself through it with integrity and with trust. And you'll see the next version of you show up in the best way possible. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If it resonated with you, put in a comment on this episode and maybe share it with someone you feel it would resonate with as well. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.